Welcome to In Alignment with T, a podcast on all things mental health, where we take a deep dive into the cognitive, social, cultural, and emotional realities of the human experience. On this journey, we will explore the complexities of mental well-being, break down stigmas, address common challenges, share stories of resilience, and provide strategies for self-care and support. I'd first like to begin by giving you an insight on alignment, which is the key theme that runs through this podcast, and the role that it plays in one's emotional and mental well-being. I'd like to simplify this in 6 key ways. First, by defining alignment, then looking at what it means to find your true north. Then we'll look at alignment and well-being, alignment and professional aspirations, alignment in your relationships, and then what it means to align for impact. Alignment is when objects, concepts, or individuals are positioned in a particular order to achieve a particular result. Someone can be said to be personally aligned when their actions and decisions are in accordance with their chosen guiding principles. Finding your true north is a term that represents the journey that one takes to find their true, authentic self. In essence, finding your true north is when you find your unchanging guiding principles and you stay true to them and you allow them to navigate you through life. For some people, this could be a career path. For some people, this could be their religion or some other dogma, spirituality. Whatever it is, they stick to it because it's what navigates them towards their purpose. Alignment and well-being is an overarching concept that I think affects both alignment and professional aspirations and alignment and relationships. First, with alignment and professional aspirations, I think Nigeria has a purpose problem. You'll find that many people have clothing lines, some take it seriously, some don't. And I think the difference between the two is that one individual could have gone to fashion school, learned how to stitch, knows how to use a sewing machine, knows how to design, knows how to sketch. And so they go for that because it's their passion and they've always been into it. But then somebody else sees that and they think it's just an easy feat. And then they go on to say, oh, well, I'm going to become a fashion designer. I want a clothing line. They don't know how to stitch. They don't take it seriously. They never go to fashion school. And so they either end up putting out a low quality product or the business never becomes successful. Whereas if this person actually took the time to look within and was like, maybe I'm into food and I like flavors and maybe I should go to culinary school and I might be more passionate about this. So if I do that, maybe it might become more successful and maybe I might care more about the quality, right? So I think sometimes it's about making professional choices that truly align with you and not going with the pressure to do what everybody else does. Now, I'm not saying this is easy, but I think people need to start taking the leap to make such adjustments for everyone's own good. Then when it comes to relationships, I think this is one of the toughest ones because I think human beings were very tribal and we want a community and we want to have friends. But when it comes to alignment, it's a concept that encourages you to find your tribe, right? So it's not saying isolate yourself, but I think the suggestion is more that you choose to be with people that make you feel good, people that help you grow, people you can progress with, people that you can trust. Because I think it's very common for many people to have friends that make them feel uncomfortable, friends they don't feel safe with, friends that they cannot trust. But because they think those are the only options that they have, they choose to stick with it and they choose to go along with it. But I don't think it's fair to oneself to choose to suffer in such a way, because it will take time, but you will find the people who are right for you if you are patient enough. This particular part of it definitely requires you to look within. And it's tough because it's solely dependent on how much truth you're willing to accept about yourself. And some of those truths may not be savory truths, but it's about your ability and your strength to accept them and then, make the appropriate changes that are necessary. And so some friendships may have to change, some relationships may have to change, and then some relationships may have to end. And we have to have the courage to do that for our own well-being. And last but not least, aligning for impact. In the last few months, we saw everyone stand on different sides of the aisle concerning the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. People used their voices to stand up for what is right, and everyone could see who the obvious underdog was. Aligning for impact can also be as simple as veganism. It could also be standing up for children's rights, women's rights, going on the marathon runs for breast cancer awareness. It could be anything, but it's about finding what's true and what stands with you, and then standing with that cause and seeing it through. At this particular juncture of my life, this podcast is what it means for me to align for impact. It's always been my calling to be an agent for change. And bringing mental health awareness to my small little corner of the world means everything to me. And I hope that all the other agents for change who have voices that deserve to be heard are inspired to do the same. Today's episode is about why Nigerians don't usually use mental health outlets like therapy, and how the attitudes that prevent them from using mental health outlets like therapy affect the most important relationships in their lives. Today's guest is my dear friend Casey, who has agreed to be on this first episode of my podcast to help me break down these issues. And I hope that with this discussion and the many more discussions to come, that we are capable of empowering minds, healing hearts, and bit by bit that we dare to transform lives. And with that being said, let's begin. So the conversation we're having today, which is a conversation we've had a couple of times, is about why Nigerians don't like using mental health outlets like therapy. Like, I know we have a culture and we are a very deeply religious society. And so we rely on prayed away, you know, in our culture, we don't do this. There's a lot of like, oh, are you going to therapy? Is it because you're mad? Like, do you get what I mean? So there's all of that stuff when it comes to mental health. And I think people are very uncomfortable talking about these things, seeking help. People don't want to talk. We live in a very show-off culture, so nobody wants to admit they have issues. So there are so many things, but I guess for me, I'm like, aside all of those things, and aside the issues like shame and pride, that might be more of a Gen X issue. Why do you think that even in today's day and age, although it's become more common, Nigerians don't use therapy, but I think more so Nigerian men? Because I think women are more open to it, and we'll get into that. But why do you think they don't?
Okay, for Nigerian men, I can't necessarily say I can speak for all Nigerian men.
Of course you can.
But I'll speak for myself and people who like operate within the same realm that I do. So let's go with culturally and traditionally, first of all. Even in my village, there are certain people, like there are families within my village.
And where are you from?
I'm from Imo State, also.
You have to be very specific.
So there are certain families that they have members in their family that are actually going through it and have had mental breakdowns. And literally you find the person in the market just twitching and tweaking. Everybody tries to pretend as if that's not a thing, as if that's not him. They just completely like, just if they can like put it under the carpet because of the thing about like mental health. When everybody thinks that you're going crazy, it can affect maybe your sister. Like, for example, if I had a mental breakdown and everyone in the village heard about it, my sister probably wouldn't be able to get married because of it would be perceived that my family has a history of like losing it. Like, it's not so that's why for family and like culturally, for people who are like deeply into the whole tradition and cultural stuff like that, you have to keep it under wraps
Yeah.
because of it can affect your cousins won't be able to get married because of shit that has happened to you. Everybody's like, they go crazy in that family. They have like mental health issue. Then for men,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'll say for people within my age group, there's a certain, I know, stigma.
I think this covers even the people who are like 10 years older than you too.
But I'll just say, when I'm talking about me and my guys, right?
Yeah.
We like to substitute, like, whatever therapy is,
yeah,
we would like to substitute it with other forms of our own masculine therapy. Because of it seems so sissy for a guy to just be lying down horizontally,
you don't
understand, and
that,
just
though.
talking to a woman, because most likely it's most probably a woman, and then almost breaking down and saying, "Oh, my life is in shambles." Da, da, da. So see the thing, right? Men.
Yeah.
A lot of us don't even really believe in therapy.
Yeah.
We believe that talking to someone about the problem, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily fix anything. It just makes you feel okay for a while.
Yeah.
But the problem is still there. The problem still persists. So if we don't believe that therapy can actually fix the problem and just like a band-aid, why not just substitute that band-aid with another form of a band-aid, which is basically either you're drinking, either you're, like the other stuff that probably YouTube won't allow us to say, and people that are watching this know what I'm talking about, the debauchery, the degeneracy, all that can be our therapy because of
debauchery?
Yes, everything, the whole lot. Because most men, we don't think that if we talk to someone about our problems, the problems have ever gone away. They're still there. The debauchery, the degeneracy, everything. That is therapy for a lot of guys.
Yeah.
Most men would prefer that than actually talking to someone because, no, because of, in a way.
I have a side, but like, those also can be considered to be harmful things.
Yeah.
Because it's a form of escapism. Isn't it? It's not like you're facing your issue.
We believe therapy is a form of escapism too.
In its own way, but I feel like there's a difference. And I always like, there's this saying, and I might get it wrong.
Okay.
But I think it's that buffaloes, I think, run from the storm.
Yeah.
And then I think bulls stay in the eye of the storm. If you stay in the eye of the storm, it will hit you, but it keeps moving. If you run from the storm, it will keep chasing you. And I think it's a good, what would I say? It's a good way, it's a good analogy for therapy. I think therapy isn't just talking. I think when you speak to a psychologist, a therapist, you are also diagnosing symptoms. Yeah. Right? The symptoms that you have that show. So you're diagnosing your class into, they'll use the DSM, class you into a particular group. You could be bipolar and you need medication. You could have a bunch of different issues. Yeah. You could have chronic depression. So you're having things that could help you solve your problem. It doesn't mean it's 100%, foolproof, that it'll fix your issues, but at least you're trying and you're facing it. When you drink, when you party, when you engage in all forms of hedonism, whether your vice is women, whatever it is, I don't think it solves the problem. It's escaping the problem. So I think we trivialize things like therapy and seeking help because it's just, oh, you're talking, da 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 da. I remember what your brother said. What did he say? We should all be sissies and take mental health days and stuff like that. So I think it's not what it seems, and I think a lot of we may not understand it fully for what it is. And we're just like, oh, I don't want to talk to you about my issues, but it's not about talking about your issues. It's about talking about your issues so that you can get a solution. It's not like you're talking to somebody who doesn't have a solution. You're talking to somebody who can help. If you try it, right, and you get a diagnosis and you try everything you can and it doesn't help, that's different from not trying and being like, I'm just going to mess up my liver and get cirrhosis and then, compile my issues by the time I'm 60. Not saying that that's what happens to everyone, but I think it's really important that we try to fix it. And I understand that it's hard because sometimes we've had a conversation about the truth. Yeah. And how comfortable people are. Yeah,
that's what I was about to segue into. Sometimes therapy can actually lead to a deeper revelation of what's the real problem behind self-destructive
So we're
habits.
agreeing it's not just the band-aid.
No, yeah. Sometimes some people may not necessarily want to know the truth.
Fair enough.
Yeah, some people, they'll be like, I have a problem. Something is seriously disturbing me, either in my life or the way I relate with my children or my spouse or work or anything. And they may not necessarily want to know the reason why they feel like they need to do the drugs or they need to do the other stuff, because it may reveal something that they are trying to. Okay, let me just say something. Sometimes when you're asleep, right?
Yeah.
Your deepest fears, like, you manifest them in your dreams. Yeah. Do you understand? Like, for example, when you're awake, you may be anxious about something, but because of you're awake and you're conscious, you consciously be blocking it. Like, anytime it comes to your mind, you're able to shove it at the back of your mind because of you're like, whatever. But when you're asleep, it comes. Whatever you are afraid of, whatever that's been haunting you.
It comes in scary ways
it comes in scary ways. And sometimes people don't want to face the demon that is in the closet. They will rather, there is peace in not addressing the problem. And that's remember that bar I told you by Joel Ortiz, that he had a performance and he said something like, I'm not afraid of success. Let me drink on it. Then he now took a drink and he said, I just think I answered yes, but not on purpose. Yeah. You understand? Like, he knows that he's terrified of being a failure, but he doesn't want to acknowledge it within himself that this is the reason why before I go on a show, I just have to get blacked out drunk, because if the show turns out badly, maybe he can have like a crutch or like, a safety net that, I was actually high. So that's why I didn't give out my A game. Sometimes they don't want to necessarily confront the fact that maybe they're just not as good as they think they are, or maybe what other people are saying about them is actually true. Yeah, that those self-doubts, maybe the people that are actually doubting them are right.
But here's the thing about not wanting to face the truth. I think it compiles. It's kind of like feeling a lump in your throat, a lump in your breast, whatever it is, choosing not to go to the doctor, and then waiting a year or two and then finding out you're stage 4 when you could have checked at stage 1. Because here's the thing, and this is where I go into things like, this is me also understanding that something like therapy and stuff is definitely for people who have the privilege to go to therapy. Not everybody can afford it. There's so many reasons why people can't do it. So I definitely understand that. But for the people who are privileged and the people who can afford it and the people who can do it, I'm not saying it's going to fix all your problems. I'm just saying try it, because people commit suicide. We have mothers who have postpartum depression. People will tell you to pray it away. We have relationships that are going into dust. I mean, we could go into so many different things. It's kind of like why people don't go to marriage counseling before they get married. They start to go to marriage counseling after things go awry. It's like if you went to marriage counseling before you got married, you might figure out that that's not the right person for you, and avoid spending all that money and wasting all that time and getting kids involved and so on and so forth. So I'm just saying that sometimes it's good to have a neutral third party listen in and tell you, somebody who doesn't really know you too well. Sometimes it could be someone who knows you, like, because some people can put their personal feelings aside. But I just think it's really important that we don't throw away the possibility of help, the likelihood of getting help.
You said something interesting. You said, for an example, someone could have like a lump in their breast, right? Yeah. And they may not necessarily know what it is, but because of they're anxious about it, they'd rather not know. And they just allow it to metastasize. I
understand that human response.
You understand? Now, do you believe that some people can be more comfortable in not have you heard of Schrödinger's cat? Okay, this is the hypothesis of.
Is it related to Schrödinger's syndrome?
Yeah. It's like as far as you don't know, like it's like, okay, there's a box, right? A cat is in the box or it's not in the box, and they present to you the box. As far as you have not opened the box yet, you are not certain whether the cat is in the box or not. Do you understand?
I
The
agree
moment
with
you
you.
open it, that's when you know that your reality, your fate is sealed. Do you
But what I'm
understand?
saying is, I think where I'm going with this
Mhm.
is, and I think maybe where we might have like a bit of a misunderstanding
Mhm.
is, I'm not saying it's not hard,
Yeah,
and I'm not saying we're not human, and I'm not saying that it's easier for us to run. We all run,
yeah.
right? We have different levels of strength and whatnot. But what I'm saying is, what if you were scared of the cat and you opened it and you noticed there was no cat in there? Now
Mhm.
you don't have to worry about a cat.
Mhm.
I'm just saying there are other ways to do things.
Yeah.
And my point was, if you had checked earlier, you might
Mhm.
have found your cancer at stage 1 and you would have been able to fix it and not die.
Yeah.
But if you wait that 2 years, you could have 6 months to live. What if you have kids? They grow up without a mother. Like, there are bigger issues. I'm saying,
Mhm.
like, I mean, this is somewhat a more extreme example, but it's not. Like, it happens way more than we think it does.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, addressing an issue, right? It's kind of like if you have a leak.
Mhm.
You notice a leak in
Yeah.
your bathroom, and instead of checking the leak, you let it
just
go,
let it go. Yeah.
and then it drips into your fuse in the floor
Oh,
downstairs,
yeah.
and then it sparks. Something happens to the fridge. It starts a fire. Somebody
Yeah.
dies. Obviously, these are things that can
Yeah.
happen. It's kind of like why they say don't drink and drive.
Yeah.
Maybe you drank, you drove
Mhm.
years, nothing happened.
Mhm.
One day you drink and you drive. You didn't sort out the problem before,
Yeah.
and now you make the mistake and you kill someone or you die, right? It's better to solve a problem, start solving the problem now, than it's kind of like a job, right?
Yeah.
If you don't start your career at the right time, you're not going to catch up with, Nigerian parents will say, you're not going to be at the same place with your mates by the time you're 45. Do you get what I mean? And so what I'm saying is, why do we apply that in every other area of our life, but we won't do it with our mental health? Because here's the thing: you scrape your knee right now, even if we don't go to the hospital, we'll get some alcohol, we'll get some iodine, wipe it down. Do you get what I mean? So it's like, why is it that when it's our brains, we just make it worse?
I think is there any way to make going to therapy cool? Like, if there's any way
I think
to
this
make
is cool.
No, yeah, but like, if there's any way to make, like, for people like me, to make it like trendy to actually go to therapy, because there are a lot of people that, if you tell your guys that you're going to meet one woman or one man and cry on her lap for 1 hour, they'll be like, ha 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 ha.
Well, why does it have to be you're crying in their lap? Why does it have to look like that?
It is the way
But here's
men
my
perceive
thing.
things.
But you know what? This is the perfect way to segue into the next part of this. So, because the main topic that we're discussing, obviously, is why we don't use the mental health outlets that are available to us, and how the attitudes that prevent us from using those mental health outlets affect other areas of our lives, especially our interpersonal relationships.
Yeah.
Are your friends true friends if you're telling them you're going to go seek help because you're going through stuff and they make it a joke and they don't take it seriously? Because when you die, they want to come bring flowers to your funeral, but you were going through stuff, and when you wanted to go seek help, nobody wanted. No, everybody thought it was a joke. We're going into this now. And I'll list a couple of things, and we can cover some of them or maybe all of them. I think the attitude of avoidance, the fear of shame, is why many parents don't know their children.
Yeah.
I think it's why we have inauthentic friendships. I think I had a list here, so we have inauthentic friendships. Wow, I ripped it off. Great. We have inauthentic friendships. I think tumultuous relationships between siblings. I think I've spoken to people who have had certain feelings towards their siblings all their life. They never talk about it. I don't want to seem like I'm coming across this way, or and sometimes it's even feelings that come from things like misunderstandings, but you never talk about it because maybe there's shame, or maybe they might get a bit aggressive and you don't like how they're going to respond, but you could fix the problem, yet you avoid doing so. I think there's also an eventual loss of closeness between children and their parents. I think especially in our African culture, usually kids cling to their mothers because mothers are the more present parent, they're the more emotional parent in most instances, not all. And so you'll see kids are more close to their mom and, they're more open with their mom. But then I think the dads get older and then they're like, oh, nobody wants to hang out with me.
Yeah.
And it's like the kids love dad and dad loves his kids, but it's just that closeness wasn't built. And I think it's also because we're running, right? It's like
Mhm.
you weren't emotional, or guy, you were daddy. So now you know your grown son, you
Mhm.
can't hug him, you can't hold his head, you can't kiss
Mhm.
him on the cheek, but it should be normal, and we
Yeah.
don't. And I think, and the bigger one, the
Mhm.
biggest one, which I think we will probably go deeper into is, and I think for us at people our ages, because we see people get married in the
Yeah.
city every weekend,
Yeah.
right?
Every
People also get
Saturday.
divorced at the same rate, and I
Do
think
they?
the reason that's a topic for another episode. But it's that if we're not being authentic and we're running and we're not
Mhm.
being our true selves, then does the person you even end up marrying know you? Do they know who you really are? And if they did know who you really were, if you were honest, would they even want to be with you? Right? So these are the things. So it's not just even about therapy.
Mhm.
It's about the types of attitudes that prevent you from going to therapy. You don't even know the impact that they have on all the other areas of your life, right? And they affect you deeply,
Yeah.
right? Because here's the thing, I think one of the biggest things, we didn't come to this world to work and die.
Mhm.
And we also didn't come into this world just to enjoy and die.
Mhm.
Because one of the main reasons for enjoyment is really a lot of the time, again, escapism.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? Like, but I think one of the main purposes was to connect. Nothing feels better. Like, let's be honest, if you're not being like machismo as a guy, right?
Yeah.
Nothing feels better than connecting, right? You have a sister, you have a mother. When you meet a woman that you love, when you eventually have your children, nothing beats it when it's real and when it's authentic. So when we know the value of that, why don't we have it? Because let me tell you something. I've spoken to people who've had relationships, and it's always like, but they don't know me. But it would feel so much better knowing you have somebody who has your back, who knows you and is comfortable and is okay with that, and is safe within that. So we're not going into the relationship part first. So we'll start with, culturally speaking, we already have a culture that has its own issues. But the attitude of avoidance, the attitude of running, how do you feel about how it affects our relationships with the older generation? Because do you think they know us that well?
Well,
and do you think they would approve of the way many of us choose to do things?
The truth is, a lot of us don't necessarily know our parents. There are married couples who don't necessarily know each other. They don't know each other in depth because
that avoidance. I know it's tough. Like, I know people who are like, I love my mom, and especially with dads, I think people are more open with moms.
Yeah.
But it's like, I love my dad. But to sit there and do the love conversation and the care conversation is so hard. Why?
Okay. Well, I think I'll handle this aspect as I'm talking from the masculine. For our parents, we have been conditioned. It's not just start now. It is generations and generations and generations. And I hate using this term because it's so cringe right now. It's this toxic masculinity. I hate it because of people just throw it in situations
Look
where.
at my face. Look at my face.
God.
I'm annoying. I know. Yeah.
So it's like they were bred, literally bred to be like hardened. Okay, this is my dad lost one of his brothers during the Civil War.
Yeah.
And it's his youngest brother. Every time I ask him about it, or ask one of my uncles about it, you can just tell how they just lock up. They're just like, yeah, it's something, and they just quickly, boom, change the topic. And then I'm just like, Dad, you have a brother that went missing in the middle of the jungle while you people are running from your lives, running for your lives. And then it's just like, kissy, stop. And it's almost like if I want to press the issue, I may break him or break something that he's been trying to bury deep inside.
Holding on by a thread.
You understand? So it's like, this is just my dad. And he's actually one of the most liberal and open people. But there's still aspects about him that because of the culture around how men should behave, that things that actually could maybe take you to brinks of tears, you just act as if it didn't happen. It's been passed down to me too. There's situations that I'd be hurting deep inside, but I'm like, what's the next person going to say if he sees me, you know?
Is that where the whole hard guy thing comes?
Yeah, that's the men.
I don't like stress, so if you want to stress me.
Exactly. Look, can't cry like physically. Yeah. We can't really let out the tears because we have been conditioned. We have been conditioned by years of mockery by women because of whether you like it or not. It's just this new era of women that likes to say, okay, yeah, you can cry on my lap, or but the truth is I genuinely don't believe women will be comfortable with their man crying. You girls, you like to say things that you don't really mean. Because if every time your man had an issue and he actually cried, you don't want that emotional person, because of that emotional man.
Not that I'm agreeing with what you're saying.
That emotional man brings anxiety towards you. There are a lot of women who actually would like to live in delusion, in the sense that maybe we could be at the brink of losing it all, but he's a man and he's going to ride or die. He's literally like going to put himself in front of the firing squad to make sure that the rent is paid and everything.
So there's something I have to say.
Okay.
I actually am not I wouldn't say I promote that. I don't believe your partner has to know everything. Right? I think so long as you have people you can talk to and people who can help you. Because I think one of the problems is people going it alone. I don't really believe no one's an island. I don't care how self-sufficient you think you are.
Yeah.
You're not an island. And what can break you is that super self-reliance, right? One day, just one day, you might crack. You have a brother, right? You have siblings. Those are people you can rely on. Getting a therapist, that's another person you can rely on. Nobody is saying you have to rely solely on your woman, right? I think there are things that you owe her in honesty, but I don't think she has to be the one you rely on. So again, that woman thing isn't necessarily like, it's not the best excuse, I think. So what I'm saying is I can understand that opening up is hard. It's not the easiest thing to do. I think I grew to become a very open person. I didn't I wasn't an open person overnight. And I think in some instances and sometimes in my life, I'm still a bit closed off. So I don't think that's necessarily what the issue is and what I'm talking about here. What I'm saying is there's a leap of faith, right? And I think people are all different, but it's like, if people are willing to go to people's houses and rob them, if people are willing to shoot a gun, if people are willing to fight, if you're willing to do all these things, what is there in crying? Like, that's just where I'm going with it. I think we live and care so much about what people think so much that we lose ourselves and we don't even know we're doing that. But I'd like to move on to other things.
Yeah.
So, inauthentic friendships.
Yeah. I like those a lot.
We were talking about this
like
2 days ago. About how men have inauthentic friendships.
I love it. Don't ask me about personal things. Let's just play video games, drink.
But then that's not your friend.
To a degree, he is.
Why? How?
Who is really your friend? Someone who you can be comfortable around.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah. I
have friends that we could literally be in an uncompleted building. No lights, mosquitoes everywhere. And I'm at peace. I just like being around them. And there's some people that have to
First of all, you've never been in an uncompleted building.
Yes.
Dude.
But still, the concept of, okay, there's a friend that he's late, right?
Yeah.
He told me he often came to my house. And every time I'd be like, I want to come to your place. And he told me something that made me sad. He said, Casey, I can't allow you to come to my place because of my place is ugly. And that stuff hurts me.
Use the word ugly?
Yeah, the word ugly.
Yeah.
I can't let you come to my place. My place is ugly. And I'm like, bro, it's me. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, what I mean, it's me in the sense that I literally do not, like, the place could be unpainted, unfurnished. I'm here because I want to be around you. Do you understand?
Relationships should be about how people make you feel, not what they do.
Yeah. So what I mean by I love inauthentic friendships Is
But here's the thing. Let me tell you why you're wrong though. Because you literally said I like inauthentic friendships, but you just literally spoke about you being an authentic friend to somebody.
Yeah, but I like okay. See the thing, right? For me personally,
do you know what you want?
What do I want?
No, because I'm just saying. You said I love inauthentic friendships. Wait, and then you were like, but this person said they didn't want me to come to their place because they were ashamed of it, and yet you were like, but I value you for who you are. That's an authentic friendship.
Okay, I think. Let me rephrase now.
You always said you do hate agreeing with me.
See the thing, right? See the thing. What I mean by inauthentic friendships is any friendship, right, that won't force me to confront my deepest demons. I love those type of friendships.
But how are you friends with me and Naomi?
Huh?
Yeah.
Because I don't tell you everything.
You don't tell us everything.
Yeah, I don't
tell you everything.
Exactly.
I don't even want to make you like. I feel like I wouldn't want to be the person. Like I don't want to play the role of making everybody face their deepest dark as well. Not the people in my life. Like I'd rather do that with strangers. But I make you face some things, right? And I'm sure the conversations you've had with her make you face
with humor and sarcasm.
No, of course. But I will still plant that seed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I uproot it when I go home.
That's fine, and I'll keep doing it.
Yeah. See the thing, right? See the thing about male friendships, right?
Yeah.
Are they really inauthentic? See the thing. We find comfort in our camaraderie, our brotherly camaraderie. When necessary, we can rely on each other financially most of the time. But the whole emotional aspect where you are actually about to break down, guys don't really want to hear that. Like in this, like I can accept you crying to me, but I wouldn't want you to keep on doing that. I don't know. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Do you think women just have crying circles?
Yeah, this is me being toxic right now, but I think you people just love to just get inside a room, sync up, and just start crying.
That's not what we do. Just because you're talking about what's happening with you doesn't mean you're crying.
Yeah, but like I don't know, guys.
Doesn't mean you're crying. It doesn't mean you're whining either. But I think there is a catharsis that you feel when you share with people that you trust. And like I said again,
trust. That's a very important word. Trust.
But it also doesn't. Sometimes it's also good to share with a stranger because they don't know you. They're not in your personal life, so they can't judge you. But I think there is a way to fix the issue though. I'm not saying it will, right? It's like I could tell you to go work at some, structural engineering firm. It doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
I could tell you to try riding a bike to work. It doesn't mean it's going to work for you. What I'm just saying is there are options out there that could work, and avoiding it is not the best. I mean, see, this whole thing about like, oh, it doesn't work. Let me give you an example. And this is where we'll go into like women being more accepting.
Yeah.
Right? Because we'll go into that. It's like men not wanting to go to therapy is very similar to men not liking going to the doctor. It's a very similar thing, the avoidance thing. It's kind of like how we spoke about this the other day. It's like married men live longer a lot of the time because they have a wife who's nagging them to go and get checked. Because they won't, most of them, not all, but most of them won't do it if they're on their own.
Yeah.
And so with that, I think I'd like to ask, why do you think women are more like, we know we don't have crying circles, but why do you think we're more likely to go to therapy? I think I know why, but I'd like to hear your perspective on it.
This is me spitballing because I'm not a woman. I don't identify as one.
Oh, but you have so many opinions about this stuff.
Of course. Men are allowed to have opinion on things we have no idea about. That's life. Okay, so
even if you didn't ask us, you'd still have those opinions.
Of course. That's why we're men. That's why the world revolves around us. And
I wish I could tag you on this.
Yeah, I'm not.
So they know where to find you. But continue.
Okay, so why women are more open? I genuinely believe that society doesn't stigmatize women the way it does men. And that's why you people are more open to therapy, to being vulnerable. I believe society gives women, I genuinely believe women live life on recruit difficulty. It's a COD.
On easy mode?
Yeah, easy mode. Like it's Call of Duty. Listen, Recruit is like the last one.
So you
Like
see,
the earlier,
when you say these things, you're just like creating room for you to be on another episode of this podcast, because I don't think we have life on easy mode for so many reasons. Why? Like, I think we suffer more judgment. I think morally speaking, we have higher expectations put on us. Um, and in many ways, I don't think we have, like, I mean, we spoke about like female vulnerability and all that in the world. So for you to just
but
be like,
you
we
even
live life
have
on easy
female
mode.
vulnerability. Men don't.
That vulnerability is talking about women not being safe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're not talking about emotional vulnerability.
Yeah.
We're talking about, like, there was a survey done, and women were asked like what they would do. And it sounds a bit misogynistic, but what women would do 24 hours without men. Do you know what most people were saying they'd do?
But
Walk at night. Just take a walk at night alone. Like that. Those were some of the things that women were saying they were gonna do. Like, you know, like, and please, like, let's be real. So it's like female vulnerability. It's like, is life on easy mode when you look over your shoulder and you don't always feel safe? So it's like, we just have different struggles. I don't think we live on easy mode. I don't think that's fair. But continue. I think stigmatizing. I think it's easier for us to express our emotions and be open about those things, because society won't see us as weak if we do. I think in that area, I can say we have it a bit easier.
Exactly.
But we don't live on easy mode. This is not easy. But continue.
I'll tell you why I believe that you people live life on recruit difficulty. It's a popular meme, right? It's not a meme, it's a joke. I think Chris Rock said it. Either Chris Rock, one of these comedians. He said, look at Jay-Z, look at Beyonce. Beyonce is a world-class superstar, talent, musician, dancer, artist. She's the most perfect human being, right?
Yeah.
Probably a billionaire. I think she'd be like a billionaire by now. If not a billion, close.
Yeah.
And she could still get Jay-Z or be with Jay-Z without being any of those things. Literally without being any single one of those things, she could still be with Jay-Z. Jay-Z is the truth. You know.
Wait, pause. I want you to keep that thought.
Okay.
Because I have a counter argument for it.
There is no counter argument for
Wait.
that.
I know she could. This was like maybe 20, 30 years ago, because they've almost been together for like 25 years. I think in the modern day, with these Gen Z boys, with these new era, younger generation, you're not even Gen Z, but younger. Please, let's not, because once we go down that rabbit hole, it's a completely different thing. We're not doing that. So, these younger millennials and these Gen Z guys,
what do you bring to the table?
I think nothing. I bring nothing, absolutely nothing, but my sunscreen and my lip gloss. So anyway, these younger guys, Jay-Z's generation, like, you know, a nobody could be with a Jay-Z, but now, especially in this Nigeria, it's a different conversation.
Yeah, because of guys are beginning to wake up.
Anyway, we're veering off.
I want to be toxic.
We're veering off course. So then we go on to, and I think this is a very important one, that avoidance. Let's even say nobody in the world matters, right? Screw the friends, screw the family, you know, whoever else. If you can't do it for your family, and you don't really care too much about having close relationships with your friends, and you don't really care about having close relationships with your family, and maybe you might be the type of person who doesn't care about your spouse. I'd like to think the vast majority of people would care about their children. And when you said this thing about like men being, you know, you having a conversation with your dad and him being like, Casey, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about this. Is that what you want with your kids? And if you don't, how do you fix that? Right? Screw everybody else. You don't even care about your spouse. Do you want to walk into your home and everybody looks at you and Daddy is coming, and everybody leaves the living room after spending your whole life providing for, struggling, toiling to provide for these people? They love you, but they just can't sit with you. and they can't sit with you because engaging in all those things, and let's say you drank too much, and maybe alcohol got to you, and I don't think this applies to everybody, but maybe it makes you an angry drunk. So now you become inconvenient. You come home, you're not nice. Right? Because this isn't something you can predict. It's not like you can be like, I'm not going to be that guy. You can't predict your life. You don't know who you're going to be in 30 years. The habits you build today, it's like you see those guys with the pot bellies at 50. You thought they built it in 2 years. Like it started in their 20s and their 30s. And they didn't work out, and then it ended up that way. So what I'm saying is engaging in that to fix your problems, even if you don't care about anybody else, that baby you held in your hands grows up, doesn't want to be around you. They love you, but they can't be around you because you were so difficult to be around. If there's anything that can help you not be that guy, won't you take it? Right? Because I think so many people's relationships with their parents, for so many different reasons, right? Sometimes it's not the alcohol. To be honest, some people are just awful, right?
Yeah.
But I think for some people, that avoidance of fixing their issues. Because sometimes you even become an awful person by avoiding fixing your issues. Because here's the thing. When you don't fix your issues, it can build resentment. Resentment towards other people, resentment towards the world, because maybe you start to feel like the world owes you something.
Yeah.
And you refuse to fix the problem because you thought you were too big, or if it was your pride and the shame. But it's like your life becomes even more shameful because you were avoiding shame, right? So what I'm saying is these things affect the important people in your life, whether you like it or not. And I'd like to I guess, talk to you on how, right? If you don't work on yourself, what type of father you become, if it means something to you. Does it bother you? Is it a concern, or is it something you just didn't put too much thought into?
Okay. I'd like to look at things through my dad as an example.
Yeah.
And I can't mention names, but let's just say one of my friends' dads.
Yeah.
My dad is a little bit militant.
Yeah.
A lot militant now I think about it, right?
You might watch this, you never know.
Yeah, well, my dad.
Yeah.
And you have to ask yourself, your behavior, right? What is the end goal? Is it good for your children? Like being an extreme stoic. Like now I'm going to veer into nerd territory, and this is something you have no idea about, but it's a game called God of War. If there are any men that are watching this, you know what I'm talking about. Kratos the goat. So now, So
definitely foreign territory for me.
The way he interacts with his son.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You have to ask yourself, who does it serve? Now, my dad, being an extreme stoic, disciplined, has been able to put everything together. He has literally made us. There's a time that there were a lot of dangerous things that are happening around us when we were abroad. And he made us almost live in a utopia. Like he held it down so well that all I could worry about was the next episode of Megas XLR or something like that. And there was literal, you remember Megas XLR. And that was the only thing on my mind, Megas XLR, Kids Next Door, because of he held it down within.
Yeah.
He made sure that if the world is about to crumble, my kids don't need to know about that. I believe that's
they all did.
No, but I think that's the sacrifice of a man. That's the sacrifice of a man, because I've seen other men, and that is the example who I'm not going to name, but he's a lot more free with his kids.
Yeah.
But sometimes the lights won't go out.
Yeah.
Sometimes school fees can't be paid. He's jovial. He's nice. Sometimes they can't feed. Everyone can't feed. And I won't say like it's a joke to him, but with a laissez-faire attitude, right? He will just tell them the truth. Like he will tell them the truth that this is the situation we're in, and in a way, I prefer the dad who literally decides that put the burden of the world on my head, even if it destroys me for the sake of these innocent ones. I believe that's what really makes a man. Because of if because of you want to be more open and liberal, and then you now start telling your kids, for example, you can be having problems with your wife. You having problems with your wife. Their parents, right, who they almost have no intimacy with their spouses, right? Maybe the relationship is at the brink of being, whatever, being ended and everything.
Yeah.
And they would never, whenever they may hate each other, but for the fact that the kids are around, they will never release that trauma so that the kids can see. In fact, they grit their teeth for the sake of their kids, for the sake of the innocence of their kid. I believe that's one of the burdens that a real man has to stomach.
So what I want to say about that, though, is it doesn't always have to be the either or. Just because you're less militant doesn't necessarily mean that you don't take life seriously. I don't think it has to be that. There are people who are still kind and present parents that still kept the roof over your head and did everything. I don't think it's a black. There are many millionaire gentle parents. I don't think it's that if you are open with your kids that you're an unserious person. And I don't want to veer away from the point, which is that although I respect everything that you've said because it's definitely valid, and I can understand the role that plays and like taking on the burden and maybe that affecting you and how you present yourself because you're taking the world on your shoulders because you want to give your kids everything. And I don't discount that. I think where my head is at with this is that avoidance, right? I don't believe in telling your children your problems. I genuinely don't believe. I'm strictly against it. It's not their business. Let them be kids.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that. Because you can be kind and not tell your kids the issue. What I'm saying is, and what I'm going back to is, that attitude of avoiding your problems in many people, because they don't tackle their problems, because they might not be as emotionally strong to deal with their issues, it builds up a lot of anger and a lot of resentment. And sometimes you bleed on people who don't cut you. And a lot of the time it can be children. That's what I'm talking about. So what I'm saying is when it comes to something like therapy, if it can help you break down your past issues that make you resentful in your present, right? So that it doesn't rub off on your kids, it's better to take it, right? So I'm saying that avoidance, which leads to alcoholism, which can make a person violent and so on and so forth. We know how things lead to others, right? The point I'm making here is, if you could avoid being that guy, if you could avoid having your kids run away from you, if you could avoid, do you get what I mean? If you want that close relationship and there is an opportunity, because this isn't a conversation about you and I disagreeing, we just have perspectives. You could avoid being that guy who comes home and is unpleasant because of all the things, all the attitudes you had that made you avoid facing your problems. You're telling me you wouldn't take it.
The truth is, I will speak for myself. And then I will try and put myself in the perspective of other people that I know. For myself, I have always believed that children deserve everything. Because of the truth is, none of them asked to be here.
I just need to get my trusty pen.
No problem. So none of them asked to be here. It is either your own hubris or your own desire for a continuation of your legacy that you decided to bring people who are happy living in oblivion or whatever the void and space of non-existence is. It's actually a lot peaceful. And you brought them into this realm. Can't bring them here to suffer. I would do anything to be a better person for my kids. This is not my alter ego speaking. This is like me speaking for myself.
Your alter ego isn't here. You didn't bring the glasses.
When I bring on the Andrew Tate glasses, you know. But that's me.
So you do it.
I do it. If I genuinely believed, that's the question now. If I genuinely believed
it could fix it,
that talking to someone could fix behavioral characteristics that are damaging to myself. But it's not just
talking to someone. It's talking to someone that, one, gives you the tools talking to someone that could also diagnose something you don't know you have, right? It's two things.
I do it.
Yeah.
I do it.
And that's what I'm suggesting. And I hope people are open to that, because I feel like people feel about therapy, it's kind of like, it's not in your first day of school you knew how to do algebra. It took practice. And I feel like people are like, well, I felt uncomfortable at therapy. Like, most of the things that you grow from are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, it's not your first time trying to fly a plane, you're good. But if you stick to it and you have the discipline, you become a really good, pilot. And so why is it that people go to therapy? Oh, they made me uncomfortable. And so like, I'm going to leave. And it's like, no, all the things that make you uncomfortable sometimes might be good for you. So that's interesting. So I think we've pretty much cleared the whole kid thing.
Yeah.
So I'd like to talk about spouses.
Okay.
And I think
this is
I mean, neither of us do.
So
The unmarried millennials. So but I think as much as we don't have spouses, we know we're at a stage and an age where like we know what we want now. I think if there's one place in the world where inauthentic relationships reign, it's Nigeria. Like, I won't even go into like the reasons why, because that's 10 other episodes.
Kind of worms, like,
exactly. But let's just say, as individuals, the things that we've experienced, the things that we've observed, I feel like when I look at my life, what I envision is authenticity. I want an authentic life. And I don't want to fake it, right? I don't want to... Being out there in the world's hard enough. When you're out there, you're trying to achieve the things you need to achieve. You're trying to make your dreams come true. You're trying to make some money, and sometimes you might not be too authentic with your extended family.
Yeah.
There are people who might expect you to not be yourself in order to fit whatever mold they want you to fit. And then you have to come home and go into your bedroom and pretend. I don't want to do that. And I think most people, if they really could tell you the truth, they wouldn't, but yet they do. Either because they think their true selves aren't worthy of love, or because they feel like, I don't want to play with you because see, finish, you won't respect me. Whatever it is, right? People aren't real. They just don't want to be real. And I don't think this is a gender-based thing, because I think women too, like, especially here, I think there's a lot of inauthenticity. People are pretending to love one another, whatever that means for them. They're pretending to be something they're not. There are people who are pretending to be humble, be wifely, be religious, be this, be that, and it's not who they are. And I feel like if that's who you are, that's who you are. But I don't want to pretend. I want to be real. And I want them to be real with me. And I want us to have a synergetic, symbiotic relationship of two people who really genuinely trust one another and accept one another for who they are. And I think, and I would hope that most people would want that. Not everybody does. Some people are comfortable with that distance and stuff like that. So I just couldn't wrap my mind around pretending to be somebody I'm not, just to nab somebody and then call it love, because that's not what it is.
Yeah.
I would rather those people say it's a business, it's a partnership, we did this, we did that. I would rather that, but don't call it a loving marriage, because that's not what it is. Because to call something love, it has to be authentic and it has to be real. And if you're with somebody and you doubt whether or not they would be with you if you were your true self, then they're not the right person for you. And you might want to check why you're willing to accept so little.
Another angle. Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, I don't think somebody would want the real me. I don't think, because that's what people do, right?
Yeah.
I don't think somebody would know. They wouldn't want the real me. I'm not worthy of love, so I have to pretend. But if you have to pretend, it's not authentic.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What if, for someone, the only time they actually were able to
feel love
is by being someone they're not? And in being someone they're not, they know they're not. They were the perfect person to be able to be loved. For example, there are men who are probably closeted homosexuals. Yeah, do you understand? That's
10 other episodes.
But it's like, on face value, they're the perfect husband And by being what the woman or what any woman would perceive what they want their ideal man to be, everything makes sense. There is peace at that point in time. But being yourself brings so much turmoil to the relationship that you're sure that being yourself will crush it. Wouldn't you just lie to preserve peace?
So
because if peace is actually what you're looking for at the end of the day.
Going down that rabbit hole, we're going to go to a completely different thing, and I don't want to go down that because for today. But if anyone can read this is the word that's written here. It's called resentment. It might work for a year, and it might work for 2. But one day, because here's the thing, you're making, because if let's say a man is a closeted homosexual, let's say in the game of lying and pretending, let me tell you how this plays out. Because here's the thing. Yes, we're all individuals.
But he loves
8 billion. Let me get there. Okay. Just let me get there. There are 8 billion people in the world, and we think everybody's story is so unique. And it's like, yeah, there are little things in your life that make you so unique. But there's a reason why we have movies and so many people can relate to them. It's because the storylines all kind of match up and become the same. And whether it's homosexuality, whether it's you married a girl because she came from the right background and your family said you can only marry from this background because they make this much money, whatever it is, if it's not what you wanted in your heart of hearts, and you're lying and you're pretending because you want something else, because you might be attracted to something else, you're making huge sacrifices. The man who is the closeted homosexual, who is marrying a woman, even if he loves her for who she is, he's still attracted to something else, right? He has a secret that he keeps. And keeping secrets is painful and it's hard. And it's because everybody around you that says they love you, they don't even know who you are. And that's tough. That's the first thing. But the second thing is, you are making huge sacrifices to be with her. And we had this conversation the other day. It's like, when you make huge sacrifices and a person doesn't even recognize it as a sacrifice, because she thinks you're a heterosexual man that loves her for who she is and you're attracted to her and everything is fine. When someone doesn't even know the sacrifices you make for them, they can't appreciate you for those sacrifices. And guess what happens? Resentment.
Yeah.
You resent them over time. It's not something that happens immediately, but it's every day. She might be dissatisfied. She might complain, whatever it is. And she just thinks she's being a normal human being, right? It's like it happens in relationships. But it takes that man maybe twice as much, 3 times as much effort to be with her than it would a man who's attracted to women. And so you might think it brings you peace. You might think it makes you happy. But maybe you die, nobody knows who you are. You die without true love. And like, it's tough coming out of the closet for some people, but it's like those people who do come out of the closet and who have that courage that they get the love they deserve. They get to openly love the way they want to love, and they don't have to lie to somebody. Because here's the thing, he may think he wants peace for himself, and his pain is resentment. But her pain is, he wasn't even attracted to me. I could have spent my life with somebody who was attracted to me. So you're causing pain in so many different areas, and you don't even know you're causing it. And what I'm saying is, I know it's hard. There are realities that people have, and it's really, really tough to face. But life is give and take. And you have to make peace with the decisions that you make. So you're not the only one in pain when you're closeted. Everybody, Casey is not a closeted homosexual.
The only funny thing, I was about to, but I was just like thinking like an extreme.
Yeah. But like, it happens. Have to pretend. It's not even extreme. This is Abuja, baby. This is a thing. And some of the women know, some of them are so blind, legally blind, they can't even see it, and the rest of us can. So, but resentment, if you have to pretend, if you have to be somebody you are not, you are paranoid. It's like living a life where you're like, someone's going to catch me. In terms of pretending, I just really feel like it is better to be your authentic self, and you will find your tribe. And I think that's why it's rare for any of my friends to find me complaining about the other. It's very rare.
Come again?
Because it's rare for me to complain about one another.
Okay,
like,
okay. I thought it's like complain about the other.
It would be very rare for me to come to you and complain about Naomi.
Yeah.
We may have issues here and there, but that's like once every year or like once every 2 years. Yeah. It's rare for me to go to Naomi and complain about her because it's a thing that doesn't even happen. And it's because there was a time in my life where I had friends that made me feel uncomfortable. And I'm going to have an
Likewise.
episode on those, right?
Likewise.
Friends that made me feel unsafe. Going back to inauthentic friendships, where you're friends with someone, but you can't tell them something hurts you or something upsets you. You can't, and now I'm in a place where I'm real with the people that I'm around. And it's not that I don't have concerns here and there, but like I assess it. I'm like, is it worth talking about? I know this person means well. They're good to me. They're a good friend. So I don't have that authenticity issue with my friend. And that's because I chose to be real. I live in a city where there are people always find things to talk about, right?
Yeah.
But I just choose not to be around people that make me uncomfortable. I don't have to have you in my life if you're not safe. And so, and this is something that, like, you know, I can touch on in other episodes, but it's like look, I'm a Northern Muslim woman. Like, do you get what I mean? If I didn't want to be myself, I would pretend and I would fit a certain mold and, you know, la-di-da, right? But I choose to be myself as authentically as I can, because when the time comes and I meet someone and I get married, it would be somebody who chose me for me.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be somebody who chose me for the character that I chose to play.
Exactly.
Because here's the thing. You might get what you thought you wanted, and then you get married. And guess what happens behind closed doors in that marriage? Because again, resentment and pretending.
Yeah.
You're making sacrifices to play a role in order to please someone. And over time, you get tired. One of two things happens. You get tired, and so you stop pretending. So now they think you changed and you were fake.
Yeah.
And that then comes with resentment from them for you faking it.
True.
Or you keep pretending, but you're resenting it because you're not happy. So it doesn't serve anyone in the long run. People like to make short-term commitments, right? Because it brings short-term gratification. But it actually takes a lot of discipline to be yourself. A lot of discipline in your personality, in your career choice, whatever it is. You have to really stand within yourself. And that's what it means to, like, be aligned, right?
Yeah.
I think we spoke about this the other day. I don't know if you want to talk about this particular thing.
I can talk about anything. That's
okay.
So
you spoke to me about this relationship where you were in, where you did a particular thing, and this girl always complained about it all the time. And you were like, I know she came from a place of love, but I was doing this for me because it was something that just helped me chill out and helped me, you know, relax and stuff. And so I asked you, I was like, well, would you be comfortable being in a relationship with a woman who did the same thing? And you were like, why not? And I was like, then do that. Instead of being in a relationship with somebody who would expect you to hide, or being in a relationship with somebody who pushes you to change. Just be with somebody who either accepts you for who you are, can grow to accept it, someone you can be yourself around, someone who you don't have to fake it with, somebody who's a company you enjoy. Because what is the point of choosing forever with somebody who you can't stand?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Everything you said was really, really, like, on point. But then sometimes you have to marry your reality with what's available. Okay, we don't necessarily throw the baby out with the bathwater, that statement, in the sense that someone can tick 7 out of 9 boxes, right? If the remaining 2 are things that you can live, you can manage, because I don't really think anyone's going to find the perfect partner. It's like it's a Disney Channel, Disney movie facade that people believe that this girl is going to be everything I've ever wanted. Yeah. Okay. And I genuinely believe that sometimes you may just have to accept that this is a flaw in someone's compatibility with you, but they actually have a lot of things, a lot of pros that come with them.
I'm not saying people should go look for perfect partners. I'm not perfect, you're not perfect, everybody is flawed. But I think when you get to a certain age, and that's why I don't really believe in marrying really young, because that's why people marry really young, and then by the time they 4 years in, when they start to mature, they start to realize that that partner might not be the right person for them. They might even feel scammed into the marriage because, you know,
like I gave away my youth.
I gave away my youth for you, and now I want other things, right? Because that's what tends to happen, especially in the world of the internet today. You can't scam a girl marry her young,
Mm-hmm.
and then think she's not going to wise up eventually, right? I think nobody is perfect, and you're going to have to make room for certain things.
Yeah.
But that's why
Compromise.
it's time for you to. It's not even compromise. It's that. It's time for you to look within, because some people, again, being introspective,
Yeah.
which goes back to not being in denial. Because if you're not in denial, you have the ability to then look within yourself, know who you are, figure out the things that are non-negotiable for you. You're not moving, you're not budging on those things. And it could be one or two or three things. It could be religion and looks, right? It could be personality and whatever it is, right? It could be those things. And then you're like, well, these are the things I can deal with, right? For some people, it could be, I'm not moving. So if somebody is like, I'm moving to Germany, you know it's not going to work for you, and stick to it. But when you go into dating and you don't have a list of things that you want and a list of things that you don't want, and then now you're just like, but I'm attracted to them, I like her, but she's leaving the country, you then end up with a bunch of messy situations, and it's like, it's unnecessary. Learn to be an adult. We're big now. Big boys, big girls. Have a list of a few things that you won't budge on. Have a list of things that you will budge on. And then when that time comes, right, choose what actually does align with you and who you are, and then leave the rest, right?
Yeah.
And then they have to do the same with you. And I think that simplifies things. Alignment.
Yeah.
What actually fits with who you are. But don't run around compromising, because here's the thing, right? It's not that you don't compromise in your relationship. You compromise at work, you compromise with your siblings, your parents, whatever. But the only time, right, things go wrong is when you compromise, when you allow yourself to feel like you are taken advantage of.
Yeah.
You feel like someone has stolen something from you when you start to sacrifice too much.
Yeah.
But if your relationship is balanced, where they make sacrifices, you make sacrifices, but you had stuck to what you wanted, there's way less resentment.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
I understand.
I think, let's say, for example, your requirements were like religion and looks, right? And you didn't budge on it, but you budged on other things. Your relationship may last long. Maybe her thing was also religion and looks. You guys both had that. It worked for you. You compromised on other things. But now imagine you married a woman you weren't attracted to.
Yeah.
Every time she does something that upsets you, you're going to be like, you ugly. Do you get what I mean? Like, so what I'm saying is, like, don't compromise on the things that you feel like are big for you. Stick to it. Stick to your guns. If it means you marry at 40, let it be. When you marry at that 40, at least you guys will be together till you're 80. But there are people who rush and marry at 25. I want to marry before 30. Wait. And then by 35, you're divorced because you didn't have the patience to wait and you compromised, right? And now you're stuck with kids. You don't know where to put them. Like, so it's like, as much as we feel like, oh, you're going to get too old, you're going to get too old. It's like, yeah, but then I also don't want to be divorced 3 times before I'm 40. So it's better to wait and do it the right way, right? They say the pain of marrying late is way less painful than the pain of marrying wrong and ending up divorced. You know, like, so it's a tough run of it. But that loneliness that people might feel, that leads them to rush, that leads them to lie, that leads them to deny, is only going to be exacerbated by doing it wrong. Some people live in the same house, a married couple. They're supposed to be loving one. They don't talk. They ignore one another. One stays out too late, so the other one goes to bed, so they don't have to see them. I don't want that life. Who does? The people living it don't enjoy it. And I think it's really because people were lying to themselves. Maybe a girl pressured a guy into marriage, right? Maybe she felt like her parents expected her to be gone by now.
Yeah.
And then she does it. There's so many reasons why, but you have to stick to your guns. And if you have the money, freeze your eggs. You'll be all right.
I was about to say, a lot of the time, a lot of women have to go into marriage early because of the whole time constraint, because of society and how women, they believe like they have a biological clock. And everything.
How we have to have like these silent.
Yeah. That's actually reasonable, not reasonable.
Yeah.
But it is the truth of the matter is that there's some certain things based on society that forces people to actually think that they have to, comply or just bend towards a mold that is by 29, I'm a failure if I'm not married. So this person that I may not necessarily be attracted to, I support your statement that you can't mess with your non-negotiables.
Yeah.
I believe that your non-negotiables are core to your values as a human being. And if you feel like you sacrificed your core values for someone else, and it doesn't pan out the way you wanted to, it is so crushing. Like this is just a random example. Someone said that as an artist, I'd love to make the music that I want to make, right?
Yeah.
And people say that it's garbage. Maybe the reception is bad.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it was my vision.
Yeah.
Was my vision.
And I put out
the art and it was my vision.
Yeah.
Then for me to bend towards a mold and actually try and pander to certain people or make art that I don't genuinely believe in, and then it fails. Because of that one hurts way more. Because of at the back of your mind, like, I didn't even want to make this garbage ass pop song. Do you understand? But I
that's
felt
what happens to so many of them. Why do you think Rihanna doesn't make music?
Yeah.
You know, she's like, I'm already a billionaire. You know, that kind of stuff. So it's like, I genuinely feel like the happiest life. Right? I feel like Joan Rivers was so happy. Yeah. You know Joan Rivers?
Joan Rivers, no, that she kept on assaulting everybody.
She was so complete.
To the day she died.
She was so complete because she lived a very, 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 very authentic life. Like, she was very true to herself. My grandmother, she was a police officer. She was a detective.
Wow.
And that woman was she was a battle axe. That's the best way that I could describe her. It's like, if she lived in the States in the 60s, she would definitely be, you know, on the side of Martin Luther King marching. Like, she was that type of person. It's probably where, like, we get our personalities from. But anyway, I feel like she lived very authentically. Very authentically. And why not? Like, she had dementia. She passed away last year. But I look at her and I'm just like, there are parts of her that I love, that I would like to emulate, because she was very raw and she was very real. But I think I generally speaking, I come from a family of people who are very direct. It's not that I'm saying that some people don't have the choice. Some people don't. Like, some people come from rough situations and they can't be themselves and they can't make those choices. But if you can, do so, right? Because I feel like sometimes the world even tries to cage you in. And it's when you decide, no, I want to be me and I want to try. And this is what and then, you know, it works out for you, and then people accept you for who you are.
Yeah.
So I think it's just about not allowing yourself to be caged. And I think respect everyone, respect other people's principles, respect them for being who they are, but I also think you have every right to be who you want to be and who you choose to be, so long as you're not hurting anyone. I think you should be able to do that. And I would hope that in the choices that we make in the future, not only for ourselves, but for the people that we choose to be with, and for the kids that we have, because I think unions, especially for those people who do get married and have children, it's not just about you. Those kids see you. And kids don't do what you tell them to do. They do what they see. You know, you marrying somebody who aligns with you and aligns with your principles is you also choosing who you want to see your kids emulate. Your daughter's gonna learn how to choose partners and how to love and stuff by you. It doesn't always happen that way. Some girls have great fathers and still make bad choices, but she's gonna learn by you. At least you're going to have a huge impact on the choices that she makes. And I think, as a son learns how to treat women too through how he sees his father behave. And you learn integrity from your father and how he behaves. So all of these things are emulated. So if you as a woman, you need a partner who is and has integrity, is a strong man, is this and that. You don't marry a scoundrel and then hope he changes, right? Although it doesn't mean we should cast people aside because they're a certain way, but I think it's really, really important to take those things into consideration when we're choosing, that we have principles we don't change, and then we have things that we can compromise, but we choose what actually aligns with who we are. And by the only way we do that is by looking in and making the choice to introspect and taking the scary step to look within and to not be too scared of seeking help when we can. So I think in order to bring one of our many conversations and discussions, because we're going to have more, to an end, I think what I have to say about that is being true to yourself is going to pay off in the long run.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't feel good now.
Word to Anderson .Paak, I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I'm not.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that you should be comfortable with being an asshole. You should work on yourself.
Yes.
But if there are like aspects of your character that are true to your core values, I don't think anyone should change that in order to appease someone else or to fit into a specific mold. So that's where I understand that people should be themselves. But at the same time, I genuinely believe that with therapy, people can be able to look within and find aspects of themselves that should be changed, not necessarily only for themselves, but for their family and the loved ones around them. So
we agree.
We agree because of, to be honest, this is a sensible topic.
It is.
This is a sensible topic.
I mean, we can understand that there are reasons why people won't do things.
No, I understand.
And they have fears, but you still should because, you know, it's useful.
I'm waiting for us to have like a conversation about things that I'm completely your polar opposite on.
Don't worry.
Yeah, because of I don't like agreeing with you too much. It's it's too, you know, harmonious. There's not much.
But we do need to wrap this episode up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been real.
It's been amazing. It's been long, and we suffered. Oh, everybody that's watching, we went through hell to produce this shit.
We did. So please watch.
Watch, give it a like.
Give it a like, comment, subscribe, stream, Spotify, podcasts, Apple Podcasts.
Wherever we're going to
post it. There'll be snippets on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter. I don't like calling it X.
No one does. It's Twitter.
And then the full video will be on YouTube soon enough.
Soon.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So and with that we wrap this episode up. High five. I was hoping to get this hand.
Why?
Because it just makes yeah. To be honest, that is, you're not gonna give me a shoulder rub.
No, it's too far. Just you're my nigga, right. So let's just like
okay.